Our troops, it is true, make everywhere the royal troops fight to dust. You know the patriotic conduct of the functionaries and the citizens of the High Garonne at Montauban. In the interval of 3 hours, several companies of cavaliers have formed themselves against the revolted, but it is already a great deal to have dared to combat with us. Those attempts failing are ready to be removed, and proves the hopes and the audacity of royalism. Fathers of the country, you can no longer shut your eyes upon the abysses that are open at a time in several parts of the Republic. Your commission has felt that the sword is for the future the only law, ought to be opposed to the partisans of royalty. It has felt that they ought to publish all their attacks, that the general indignation may be raised against them. It thinks that at the present moment the second measure of public safety is to create a force particularly destined to repress the troubles of the interior, and we have adopted the formation of an army in the departments. Your commission having decided unanimously the creation of those two new armies, its attention is drawn upon the means of execution. The raising of the auxiliary battalions decreed by the law of the 10th Messidor offers resources sufficient for the completion of the actual regiments and for the armies of the second and departmental line. The affirmative has been proved to us after having filed ancient regiments. The auxiliary battalions still offer a surplus of 100,000 men, sufficient for the two new corps. Our enemies ought to know, however, that to augment our levies, we only need a signal. The ardor of our youth is equaled only by the zeal of citizens of every age. What Frenchman would prefer to perish rather than drag on without honor a miserable life beneath the yoke of a barbarian? Who could support the idea of becoming the conquest of a Cossack and to see the great people, conquerors of so many kings, reduced to become the slaves of slaves? Oh, my country! Notwithstanding the perfidious assertions and the hatred of the counter-revolutionists, thy noble bosom is ready to open again for liberty. That bosom was, it is true, torn by parricide children. It is still. But all thy blood has not yet been shed. There yet remains for independence and glory before strangers. Every Frenchman cries fidelity to the Republic. No more divisions. No more interior struggles. No more unjust suspicions. The Constitution and victory. The first is confided to us. The second is for our armies. And we in the armies will fulfill our duties, or we will perish at the post which is assigned for us. Your commission proposes to you to demand an account every 10 days of the directory of the levy and of the arming of the auxiliary battalions. It proposes also to you to proclaim at the National Tribune the names of the zealous departments and the names of the negligent departments. The honorable naming awaits them, and without doubt the Côte d'Or and La Meurthe, where the levies accomplished, the High and Lower Rhine, where they act with zeal, shall be the first to obtain that recompense which our warriors gain almost every day. A last observation has struck us. The plots of our enemies are prepared in silence. Their bands are organized in darkness. They are scattered and will fight like the Arabs of the desert. They pillage, assassinate, separate, and unite to pillage and assassinate again. Such is the seal of reprobation, the seal of the stranger, that for 6 years past has been stamped upon their foreheads. But we, it is the publicity, the splendor, the imposing reunions that are alone worthy of the national grandeur. The troops that are disseminated are sometimes useful, but too often they are a prey to brigands who surprise them unawares. Those brigands watch the insulated gendarmes, the small detachments, and the cash chests ill-escorted. When they see a departmental army organized, when that army covers several points, and that in the south as in the north, those standards float upon immense camps. When those camps, in case of necessity, become the point of reunion of the neighboring National Guards, concentrating in their bosom the Republican thunder, then doubt not that fear will disperse the conspirators and the stipendiaries of pit will tremble. The mint of gold will give way in their souls before the fear of death. Upon the first rumor of a revolt, an avenging legion will fly to the spot where they attempted. Woe! When woe to the rebellious commune, if there is one that dares to raise the banner of royalism. The following is the project of your commission. First, the executive directory will render an account every 10 days to the legislative body of the levy of the auxiliary battalions and their equipment and their armament. Second, the directory will indicate the departments which display the greatest activity in the execution of the law of the 10th Ambassador, as well as of all those whose tardiness is remarkable. The names of those departments shall be solemnly proclaimed by the president of each council. Third, when the auxiliary battalions have completed the regiments of the active army, the remaining force shall be divided into 2 bodies. Fourth, the first shall be united as an army of the second line upon the points fixed by the directory. Fifth, the second shall be formed by the departmental army, particularly destined to repress the troubles in the interior. The propositions for those 2 new armies, of which one was to act in the interior, had greatly augmented the power of the government, for it was for a contrary, and that the commission of 7 had been formed. It was not measures of strength and concord that they expected from us. Our project was attacked without circumspection. It was adjourned, then put aside. They had concluded that to have propositions of law for public safety as expected, it was necessary to have another commission. They reproached Jourdan for having given his vote to my report, which they found insignificant and favorable to the directorial despotism. That general was surrounded with a well-merited esteem. He was equally beloved at the council as in the army. See, as anxiously desired to reconcile him with the government, and I took him several times to the Luxembourg in the reunions of the Commission of 7. We had frequent occasion to exchange amicably our reciprocal convictions. I had succeeded, with the aid of Boulay, de la Huerta, and Chenier, to modify the opposition of that pure soul, sufficiently exasperated only by the reverses of our armies, to recur to conventional measures as necessary for the public safety. After one of our reunions in committee, the discussion between us having been raised to a degree of unexpected violence, I retraced the inevitable excesses of the system to which his friends misled him, and in the midst of several warm speeches, I made use of an interpolation which would have appeared an outrage to a less virtuous man. Ah, Jourdan de Fleurus, I exclaimed. Jourdan de Fleurus, wouldst thou then become Jourdan Coupe? Tets? Cut heads. 20. Our excellent colleague, confused a moment, advanced immediately towards me, and holding out his hand to me in a friendly manner, his friendship was assured to me from that day. He had sufficiently coincided with us to place the departmental army at the disposition of the government. Unfortunately, the catastrophe of Novi had renewed his patriotic inquietudes. He again placed himself at the head of the Jacobin party, where we had to combat him till the 18th Brumaire.